Good morning, students. Today we will continue our second part of the chapter The 100 Dresses, chapter number 6. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention, class, everyone back to their seat. Now, the competition for the girls was drawing dresses, and there were 100 dresses lined up in the class, and everybody was looking at them. Now, while the class was moving around in the room, all the students looking at the dresses which had been drawn, at that time the monitor from the principal's office came with a note and handed it to Miss Mason. Miss Mason read the note many times and thoughtfully for some time she studied it. And then, while the class was moving around looking at the drawings, at that time she clapped her hands and told everyone, "Attention, class, everyone back to your seat." When the shuffling of the feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, "I have a letter from Vanda's father that I want to read to you." Miss Mason stood there a moment, and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming, this letter from Vanda's father, was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. Now, as stated in the previous chapter, the students, especially the boys who used to sit at the last benches, they used to make a lot of noise with the shuffling of their feet. And when this sound had stopped and the room had become still and quiet, Miss Mason told everybody that she had a letter from Vanda's father and she wanted to read it to them. Miss Mason for a moment stood there in silence, and everybody in the room started to grow tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately, and the way she adjusted her manner indicated what was coming. This letter from Vanda's father was of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. The note is very small. "Dear teacher, my Vanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky." The note is very short. It states to the teacher that my Vanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Jake is Vanda's younger brother. Now we move to a big city. No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Now what does this mean? No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in big city. Basically, they are living in a small town where Vanda Petronsky is the only girl who has that peculiar surname which others don't have, and they used to make fun of her. So the father wrote that way, that no more funny names. Why? Because in city there will be more people like them. So because of being plenty in number, she will not be singled out. Here she was alone, so she used to get singled out every now and then. They used to make fun of her and she felt bad about it. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. Now, when the letter finished, reading by Miss Mason, there was total silence in the class. She removed her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them with her soft handkerchief. Then she put the glasses again on, and when she spoke, her voice was very low. What did she say? I am sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name happened to be long unfamiliar one. Miss Mason is of the impression that nobody has made any kind of fun of Vanda. She doesn't know that Vanda has been regularly made fun of because of her name by her own classmates. And Miss Mason thinks, I hope nobody has done it from room 13 because the name happened to be a long and unfamiliar one. She told that I prefer to think what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, that this is very unfortunate thing to have happened, unfortunate and sad both, and I want you all to think about it. She further said that I prefer to think that whatever anybody had said was said in thoughtlessness. I know what all of you feel, and this is very unfortunate thing to have happened. It is unfortunate and sad both, and I want you all to think about it. Now she addressed the class in such a manner that whatever had happened was unfortunate and it was sad both the ways, and whosoever had made fun of her had made it thoughtlessly. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wanda how many dresses she held in her closet, but she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean, but Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Vanda's shoes. After all this thing got over, the first period which they had was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind to work. She wanted to study, but she had a sick feeling at the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy asking Wanda how many dresses you have in your closet, but then she also stood silently besides Peggy. She did not have the courage to tell Peggy not to do this thing, and silently she heard everything. Why? Because she was a coward. At least Peggy hadn't considered that they were being mean towards Wanda, but Maddie always thought that whatever they were doing was wrong, and she thought so. Why? Because she was equally poor, just like Wanda. That is what is written. She could put herself in Wanda's shoes, means she could understand the situation that Wanda was in. That is why she knew that whatever Peggy was doing was wrong, but then she didn't have the courage to stop Peggy from making fun of Wanda being a coward. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wanda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy. But Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her, and they would tell Wanda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart, and the 100 dresses were beautiful. Now she's thinking, oh my god, isn't there anything what I can do? If only she could tell Wanda that she did not mean to hurt her feelings. And then, while she was thinking all these things, she turned around and looked towards Peggy. Peggy was busy studying. She did not look up. And whether Peggy felt bad or not is not the point. The point is, Maddie had to do something about this thing. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Now, she has a soft corner for Wanda Petronsky because she also, like Wanda Petronsky, belongs to a poor family. The only change over here is that Wanda has come from Poland. Her family migrated from there. Whereas Maddie belongs to America. Both are poor, but one is made fun of her because of her long name and peculiar name. And Maddie joins Peggy, so nobody makes fun of her. Otherwise, she is also equally poor. So Maddie very well understands what problems Wanda was facing, and she felt bad also about it. That is why she thought that I have to find Wanda. I will tell Peggy, let's go to Bogin's Height. If she is ready to climb the hills with me, we will go and meet her and tell her, if they have not yet left the town, that she had won the contest and that they thought she was very smart and those 100 dresses were very beautiful. Now, when school got over in the afternoon, Peggy said with pretended casualness, hey, let's go and see if that kid's left town or not. So Peggy also had the same idea Mary glowed. Peggy was really all right. The two girls hurried out of the building up the street towards Bogin's Height, the part of town that wore such a foreboding air on this kind of a November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. Well, at least, said Peggy gruffly. I never call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb, and gee, look how she can draw. Now, when school got over, Peggy came and just casually told to Maddie, hey, let's go and see if the kids left town or not. Means let's go and see if Wanda is still in the town or not. Peggy also had the same idea which Maddie was having, and Maddie had thought that she would tell Peggy, let's go and search her. Instead, Peggy told her. That means both were thinking on the same lines. Peggy also was right, that means. And then the two girls went out of the school and started to walk towards Bogin Height, that part of the town which wore such a foreboding air on this kind of November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. Means it looked as if that part of the town was always sad because of this drizzle and downpour. Well, at least, said Peggy gruffly, I never called her a foreigner or made fun of her name, because this is what Wanda's father had written in the letter. No more holler Pollack, no more making fun of the long, unfamiliar name. She never had made fun of her name, so she thought, I am not at fault. She was at fault, in fact, but because what was written of the letter, she thought, because we never made fun of her name, she is not at fault. But then she says, I never thought that this girl understood that we were making fun of her. They thought that Wanda is a dumb girl. That is why she says, I never had a sense I thought she never had a sense to know that we were making fun of her. But just see how beautifully she can draw. Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Vanda. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was, and please not to move away and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. Maggie just could not say anything. Peggy said so many things. All she hoped was that they find Vanda up on Bogin's height. She wanted to tell her that they were very sorry of making fun of her and how wonderful the whole school thought she could draw and all these things, and also to tell her that please don't leave the town and go. Everybody would be nice to you. And she and Peggy would fight anybody who would now make fun of Vanda. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. I think that's where the Petronskis live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Wisp of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Vanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. The two girls hurried up Bogin's height. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. Now look, pointing at one white house, Maddie told to Peg, this is the house I think they Petronsky must be leaving. There were wisps of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway. Grass growing anyhow on the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its small yard looked shabby, but it was quite clean. And it reminded Maddie of one dress which Vanda used to wear to school every day, her faded blue cotton dress. Though it was shabby, it looked quite clean. There was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still there was no answer. Now the house had no sign of life around it. Peggy knocked on the door, nobody answered. She and Maddie went round to the backyard and knocked on the back door. Still they got no answer. There was no doubt about it. The Petronsky were gone. How could they ever make amends? They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she's gone now, so what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she was probably getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Now the Petronsky had left the town. There was no doubt about it. Now the thing is, how could they make amends? To make amends, the meaning is given there to show that one is sorry by doing something good. If you have insulted your friend and you feel sorry about it, you have really done something wrong. Now to right that wrong, you do some act of goodness towards your friend. That is to make amends. Now how to make amends? This is what they are thinking. At that time, they turned slowly and started to come down the hill. At that time, Peggy started to speak. She says, well, anyway, she is gone, so what can we do? Besides, she says, when I was asking her about this dress, probably she was getting all her ideas, because she used to ask her how many dresses you have, and she got the idea of drawing those dresses. Otherwise, she might not even have been able to win the contest. This is how Peggy consoles herself, that because I asked her about the dresses, she was able to draw so many good drawings and win the competition. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there was anything in it she would not have to feel so badly. But that night she could not go to sleep. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. And she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made all lined up in the classroom. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought this was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. Now, Maggie, she thought about this thing very carefully over in her head. For if there was anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. What does this mean? Maddie is thinking about this and she's feeling very bad about it. If she had not done anything, then there was no problem. Though she never did anything, but then she was always by the side of Peggy when she used to make fun of it. Neither she had the courage to tell Peggy to stop, don't speak, because she was a coward. She never had the courage to tell this thing to Peggy. So she felt very badly. She could not get sleep at night. And then she sat in her bed with her head held tightly in her hands. And she was thinking about Wanda all the time. And she really thought, she had never thought like this before. This was the hardest thinking she had done in her life. And then at the end, after a long time, she came to an important conclusion. She had decided something. And what was that? She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. Now, what was the conclusion that she came to that night, that hardest thinking she had ever done? That was, she was never going to stand by and say nothing again. She had made up her mind, if anybody makes fun now anymore of any poor girl, I will not stand and just enjoy. But she will stop that person from doing so. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up. This is what she says. She would not listen quietly. She would tell the other person to stop making fun, even if it meant that she lost Peggy's friendship. Doesn't matter. Now she has decided, even if I lose Peggy's friendship, I will speak up. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. With Wanda, her chance was lost of making all the wrongs right again. But from now on, she would never make anybody unhappy like Wanda again. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest, telling Wanda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Bogin's site, writing, "Please forward" on the envelope. Now on Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling how she had won the competition. They told her now how pretty her drawings were, and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They even had meant to say they were sorry, but in the end they just ended writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend of hers, with lots of X's in it, which denoted that they loved her. They mailed the letter to Bogin's height and then writing their "please forward" on the envelope. Days passed, there was no answer, but the letter did not come back. So maybe Wanda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry, she was not going to answer. You could not blame her. Many days passed, no reply. Perhaps she had got the letter, but then she would have been so angry that she did not want to reply. And this way days passed, and you could not blame her also, because they made a lot of fun of her. In fact, they practically insulted her day in and day out. So it was but natural for Vanda not to reply to her letter. She was not to blame after all if she had received the letter. Weeks went by and still Vanda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maddie put herself to sleep at night making speeches about Vanda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her with, "How many dresses have you got?" And before Vanda could press her lips together in a tight line, the way she did before answering, Maggie would cry out, "Stop!" Then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. Days passed by, now weeks passed by, still no reply from Vanda. Peggy started to forget the whole business. And Maddie, every night she used to go to sleep by making speeches of how to protect or defend Vanda from crowds of girls who used to tease her with, "How many dresses have you got?" And before Vanda could press her lips, because she had no dress, so she could not answer, so she used to press her lips, and then she would answer the way she used to. Before she could speak anything, Maddie would cry out, "Stop!" So this is what every night Maggie was thinking, and this is how she used to fall asleep, that I would defend Vanda from all these girls who used to tease her. And then she would cry out loudly, "Stop!" and everybody would feel ashamed the way she was feeling now. Now it was Christmas time and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. On the last day of the school, before the holidays, the teacher showed the class a letter she had received that morning. It was Christmas time, snow on the ground, there was a small Christmas tree in the class. And on the last day of the school, before the holidays were to begin, as we have in our school, the teacher showed the class a letter which she had received that morning. Now the teacher received a letter. What letter it was? Let's see. You remember Vanda Petronsky, the gifted little artist who won the drawing contest? Well, she has written me, and I am glad to know where she lives, because now I can send her medal. I want to read her letter to you. The class sat up with sudden interest and listened intently. "Dear Miss Mason, how are you and room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses, because in my new house I have 100 new ones all lined up in my closet. I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with red trimming, and her friend Maddie to have a blue one. For Christmas I miss the school, and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Vanda Petronsky." Now the teacher, this is the last day before the Christmas holidays begin. The teacher has received a letter, so she told the class, she read out the letter. Before reading out, she says, "Do you remember Vanda Petronsky, the girl who won the drawing competition? Well, she has written to me, and I am glad to know where she lives, because now I can send her the medal." And then she read the letter. Now the whole class sat with sudden interest to listen quietly what was written in the letter. She says, "Dear Miss Mason, how are you in room 13? Tell the girls to keep all those 100 dresses, because in my new house I have another 100 dresses lined up in my closets, all new ones." And then she told, "I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with red trimmings, and her friend Maddie give her the blue one." She says, "For Christmas I really miss the school, and my new teacher here is not good like you." Does not equalize with you means he is nothing in comparison to you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. This is the letter which Vanda wrote. On the way home from school, Maddie and Peggy held their drawings very carefully. All the houses had wreaths and hollies in the window. Outside the grocery store, hundreds of Christmas trees were stacked, and in the window, candy peppermint sticks and cornucopias of shiny transparent paper were strung. The air smelled like Christmas, and the light shining everywhere reflected different colors on the snow. Now, on the way home from school, Maggie and Paddy held their drawings very carefully. The houses had wreaths and holly in the window. These are all decorative items. Further, Candy, peppermint sticks, cornucopias of shiny transparent paper were strung. These are all the decorative items which are put upon a Christmas tree during the Christmas season. And the air smelled like Christmas everywhere, festive atmosphere, light shining everywhere, reflected colors on the snow. Boy, said Peggy, this shows she really likes us. It shows she got our letter, and this is her way of saying that everything is all right, and that is that. I hope so, said Maddie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she would never see the little tight lipped Polish girl again and couldn't ever really make things right between them. Peggy was happy. She says, see, this shows that this girl liked us, and it also shows that she got our letter, saying that this is her way of telling everything is alright, and that is it. Finished. Peggy is insensitive girl towards the feelings of Maddie or Vanda because she is quite rich compared to them, so she doesn't understand. Vanda understands more. That is why she feels bad. Peggy straight away says, as soon as in the letter she writes that give this green dress to Peggy, she thought that she was their friend. And this is how she says things were made right. That's it. I hope so, said Maddie. She felt sad. Why? Because she knew that now she would never ever meet the tight-lipped Polish girl again, and she couldn't ever really make things right between them. She knew she would never be able to make things right between them. That is why she feels sad. Maddie feels sad about it. She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors. Maddie sat down on her bed and looked at the drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Vanda had been nice to her anyway. Now she went home, she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. Suddenly the bedroom came to life with the beautiful colors of the drawing. Maddie sat down on her bed and kept looking at the drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Vanda had been nice to her anyway. Whenever they used to make fun of Vanda, Maddie never said anything. She just stood by Peggy. But then Vanda knew that Peggy and Maddie are best friends. Even then, she had sent a dress to her anyway. Tears blurred her eyes and she gazed for a long time at the picture. Then hastily she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. The colors in the dress were so vivid that she had scarcely noticed the face and head of the drawing. But it looked like her. Maddie, it really looked like her own mouth. Why, it really looked like her own self. Vanda had really drawn this for her. Excited, she ran over to Peggy's. Her eyes were full of tears when she was looking at the picture. They had made fun of Vanda, but Vanda was so nice that she gifted her pictures to all the girls in the class. Now, when she was looking for a long time at the picture, she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. With good concentration, she was looking at the picture, and then suddenly she noticed that even her face had been drawn on that dress, which she had not seen before it. It was lightly drawn. And the head of hers was on top of the dress. It really looked like her own mouth. Why? It really looked like her own self. Then she realized that this is me whom she had drawn. Vanda had drawn Maddie on that dress which she had gifted to her. And she had really drawn this for her. And she was so excited that she ran toward Peggy's. Peg, she said, let me see your picture. What's the matter? Asked Peggy as they clattered up to her room where Vanda's drawing was lying face down on the bed. Maddie carefully raised it. Look, she drew you. That's you, she exclaimed, and the head and the face of this picture did look like Peggy. What did I say? Said Peggy. She must have really liked us anyway. She ran to Peggy's house and shouted at the top of her voice, where is your picture? They went to her room. The picture was lying on her bed. face down. She looked at it closely and then she showed Peggy. She said, "See, she has drawn your picture over here. This is you, Peggy, in this dress. See your face, your mouth, everything quite clear. Look, she drew you." And the head and the face of the picture really looked like Peggy. At that time, Peggy said, "What did I tell you?" She must have really liked us anyway, in spite of them making fun. She really must have liked her. Yes, she must have agreed, Maddie, and she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Wanda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said, "Sure, 100 of them all lined up." Now Maggie agreed with Peggy that yes, she must have liked her, and she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought about Wanda. She used to cry, in fact, whenever she thought about Wanda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said, "Sure, 100 of them all lined up." Maddie just blinked away the tears that came every time she used to think about Wanda, the fun they used to make of her. She used to cry, in fact, but now she wiped off her tear. Why? Because she realized that Wanda had forgotten everything and even forgiven them by gifting them those dresses.